The Love Life and Lose Weight podcast will teach you the art and science of changing your habits around food. I'm your host, advanced certified weight and life coach, Heather Beardsley. I've helped hundreds of women just like you figure out how to stop dieting, lose weight, and love life on the journey to goal weight and beyond. Hey, welcome to episode 46. This is the book launch party for the Love Life and Lose Weight book, which is out and available for you to buy on ebook for Kindle on Amazon today. It's a very auspicious, very delightful day for me. So I thought we would just do like a little virtual book launch party. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read my chapter 1 to you. Then I'm going to tell you how to get your free workbook. And then I'm going to tell you how I wrote my book in case you were interested, how to do it. I also want to just say that the link to purchase the book will be in the show notes today. But you don't even really need that. You can just go to Amazon and type in Heather Beardsley or the words Love Life and Lose Weight, and it should show up there. For those of you who like a paperback book, an actual physical 3D book, that version, which will be paperback, should be out in about a month. It takes a little while to format after you launch on ebook, get the new cover done for an actual 3D book, and then get the presses to start actually putting together the book before it's available. So I will do like a local book launch party of some kind, probably late September, I'm thinking, somewhere local in South Florida. If you're on my email list, you'll get the details. If you're in the area, I would love to see you. Let's start with the introduction to the book, and I'll read that to you now. We once lived in a world where dieting was fueled by the belief that something was fundamentally wrong with us. We believed that we had to force ourselves into compliance with societal standards by restricting what we ate. In some instances, we would add overexercising to the mix. Today, things are different. It's an amazing time and place to be alive and to learn the art and science of weight loss. This process doesn't have to be as time consuming and wretched as it used to be. In fact, my weight loss philosophy can be summed up in the motto, love life and lose weight. Throughout many years and mistakes on my own weight loss journey, I've changed my thinking about my ability to lose weight, as well as about who I perceive myself to be. I want to share with you what I've learned about restrictive dieting and what I know definitively about thought work and habit change, and what you can do to sustainably lose weight. I know that it feels like you've tried everything, and you probably have. It took a lot of courage for you to pick up this book. You may have been waiting for the right moment, the right mental skill set, and lots of motivation to suddenly come together, but they just haven't. More likely, you're curious, but also deeply skeptical, and that's okay. You don't need to believe first in order to start losing weight, to try weight loss without restriction for yourself. All you need is an open mind and a willingness to put this book's concepts into action. I'm here to guide you along the way. The best news is that it's a lot easier than you ever thought it would be. So take this journey with me. I'll teach you why you're overweight in the first place and why you've not been able to lose the weight or keep it off. You'll learn how to lose weight without feeling restricted or overly hungry. I'm going to give you the tools you need to forever change your relationship with food so you stop wanting to overeat in the first place. Finally, I'm going to help you address those quiet reasons why you're not 100% sold on losing weight. Until you do that, you will be trying to lose weight while also keeping your habit of overeating. By the end of this book, you will have clarity about what needs to change and how to get started. I invite you now to allow yourself to think that you can enjoy your life on the way to and at your desired weight without struggling. Here's an analogy to give you hope that this is possible. Imagine someone who has a habit of over-consuming alcohol. We know that when an alcoholic decides they're going to give up drinking, there are two ways they can do it. The first way is to always struggle against that desire. They believe that they will always want to drink because it's who they are. With this strategy, they must wake up every day and convince themselves of why they shouldn't drink. We intuitively know how much fighting with an urge to consume depletes willpower, bandwidth, and energy. All their focus goes to trying to avoid something that they believe in their heart is part of who they are. The other way an alcoholic can stop drinking is to do a deep inquiry into their desire for their alcohol itself. They can litigate the process like an attorney litigates a case. You can make the case against the habit you want to be free of. This way, over time, you convince yourself why this habit doesn't serve you. You've changed your mind about the habit that is blocking you from the life you want. In this book, we're not going to make sustainable weight loss harder than it has to be. We're going to make the case against overeating. This is the way that you lose weight and love life on the way down to goal weight. Of course, the process of quitting overeating is not quite the same as quitting drinking. We all need to eat, and I want to encourage a healthy desire for food. The best news is, unless you have a medical condition and your doctor tells you otherwise, you get to eat the food you truly want to eat, and you can lose weight eating that food. We're also going to make the case against emotionally regulating your life with food. Food can't fix feelings. The reason food works as an emotional fix is that we choose to believe it does. Eating provides temporary relief through distraction and dopamine, but it's not a permanent solution to emotional dysregulation. Believing that it is a solution is just a thought that we have accepted as true. Normal eaters do not tend to eat to feel better. Normal eaters figure out how to be with emotions without thinking they need to eat over them. We'll talk about why you're overweight in the first place. It's important to tell a new story about why you're overweight, one that serves you and that can help you start losing weight consistently. We'll talk about what's getting in the way of sustainable weight loss and how your current thinking about your food and your life is getting in the way. I can help you engage with new ideas and new beliefs so that you can create a new food lifestyle that is sustainable for the rest of your life. You'll do this by answering your coach homework questions for each chapter in this book. The way you'll eat to lose weight is the same way that you'll eat to keep it off forever. This means that your weight loss may not be as quick as with restrictive dieting. And it's normal to think that restricting what we eat works for weight loss. And while it does at first, the results are not permanent. So go back to your memory, to the times you've tried restrictive dieting. At some point, it always stopped working because it was unsustainable. You have been conditioned by the diet industry to think you can't eat when you're hungry, that you shouldn't eat certain foods, or that you have to be constantly saving up calories. But is that how you want to live the rest of your life? Most people want the freedom to eat when they're hungry, to fill their bellies until they've had enough, and to find peace and acceptance in that way of eating. You're going to utilize the internal signals of your body to self-regulate your eating habits. You're going to work on your mental beliefs around food and what's possible. And through practice, you'll slowly start to shift how you see yourself. You'll stop thinking of yourself as someone who's overweight and struggles with weight, and start to think of yourself as returning to the normal eater you once were. You'll see yourself as someone who is in control of her relationship with food. You'll create an intentional food lifestyle that you love. You'll see that you're building a life that supports a normalized relationship with food. We'll cover all this in the following chapters. Sounds amazing, right? I'm excited for the journey that we're going to take together over the course of this book. You're going to question your beliefs, and I'm going to show you how to change the beliefs that may be blocking you from the life you want. You don't have to be like an alcoholic who struggles against their over desire every day. Changing your food lifestyle is an amazing process that will leave you almost breathless with possibilities. You have already leafed through, I'm sure, all the best-selling weight loss books and tried the big name diets. I know you don't want to count points or macros ever again. You want to make peace with food and lose weight for the last time while eating the way that you want to. This book will teach you how, but I won't tell you what foods are good or bad, and I won't provide meal plans. This process requires you to take responsibility and demonstrate leadership in your weight loss journey through your willingness to apply the concepts and strategies I give you. In the process, you will liberate yourself from ever thinking you need another restrictive diet program again, because now you are the expert of you. I know for certain that you will lose focus. You will make mistakes, and you will catch yourself going back to old habits and ways of thinking. You will have weeks when it seems like things are not working. That is all a normal part of the process. What matters is that in those times, you remember to come back to loving yourself, focusing on your progress, and getting good at making the next best decision to keep moving forward. You don't have to do anything perfectly to see the results you're looking for. You only have to decide that you will not quit on yourself. And then at the end of each chapter, I have coach homework for you, much like I've done on this podcast. And you have 3 questions. If you want to get started, you can do them now. Why is now the right time for you to be done with contemplating weight loss and start experimenting with what works for you to sustainably lose weight? That's question 1. Why is now the right time for you to be done with contemplating weight loss and start experimenting with what works for you to sustainably lose weight? Number 2, if you don't actively figure out what works for you to lose weight sustainably, what is inevitable for your future? If you don't actively figure out what works for you to lose weight sustainably, what is inevitable for your future? And number 3, this is the final question. Do you remember being a quote normal eater before you knew about good food or bad foods or dieting? If so, how did you think about food then that is different from how you think about food now? I'll read that again. Do you remember being a quote normal eater before you knew about good food or bad foods or dieting? You know, you can explore like what that was like. What is your recollection of your relationship to food? If so, how did you think about food then that is different from how you think about food now? So that is the introduction to the Love, Life, and Lose Weight book. The subtitle of the book is Eat What You Love, Trust Your Body, and Lose Weight Without Restriction. So I'm really thrilled that this day has finally arrived. I feel a huge sense of relief and also, you know, of course, a bit of consternation. You know, it's like I talked about before, like if when you're an artist, when you finally have a gallery opening, right? You're like, come look at what I created. Maybe you like it. Maybe you hate it. Hopefully the introduction that I just read is a great way for you to decide if purchasing the book and working through the book and all of the coach homework is a good match for you. It really does explain my perspective and my approach and how I work with habit change and thought work and lifestyle work to help you really pull the trigger on the practices that allow you to lose weight sustainably. So that means, you know, eating slightly less than what you've been eating, but not overtly restricting or your calories or like pushing past hunger, as you know, so many of us have done with restrictive diets. If the introduction resonated for you and it piqued your interest, I mean, I would really encourage you to follow through and work through the material in the book. Um, Everything I've learned about what works for sustainable weight loss, I have learned in my own practical practice with one-on-one clients. I have more than 10,000 hours of one-on-one coaching experience, coaching women out of diet mentality and through sustainable weight loss. And the results have been amazing. I've learned so much about that I wanted to write a book just to share with so many of you, really out there through the world. You really learn this when you publish a book and you make it available on Amazon. When you upload your book, Amazon asks you, where do you want to sell your book? Like what markets, what international markets? And there's really like all of these countries in the world that you can make your book available to. And it's very humbling to think that, you can share your expertise with the world, the greater world, because I can only coach with so many women one-on-one. That's about 30 people a week that I work with. And then I work with the No BS Weight Loss Program membership exclusively. It's the only way that you can work with me. And I work with, members in there through indirect means and directly with 30 of my private clients. And it just, part of my mission is to, of course, work one-on-one. It's very gratifying to me to do that, but also to hopefully encourage anybody who wants to get out of constantly feeling restricted or frustrated by weight loss to use some of these tools to figure out how to lose weight yourself if you can't work with me one-on-one. That's just not possible for you. Because I really believe that the more women I can help realize how she can be in touch with her body and manage her thoughts around food, that will change the world. Because a woman who feels in control of her relationship around food and who can emotionally regulate herself without feeling like she needs to eat brings all kinds of benefits into the world, that is capable of changing the world and changing women's relationship to conditioned ideas about how she should eat and what is her control over herself and her food, what is right, what is wrong, what are virtuous foods, what are diet foods. It's really a practice of creating the life that you want with intention and then figuring out how to get there as an internal process rather than conforming to external ideas of what we should look like, what our eating should look like, what our food should look like. And just putting that control back into the hands of each individual woman is just my idea of like a very purposeful life for me. So thank you for, tuning in to the podcast. I want to speak a little bit now about how I went about creating the book. And it's a little bit different than you might think. So I have always thought about being a writer. I've always loved writing. I have this photo of myself. It was probably around 1985 or so. And I'm typing on my grandmother's Smith Corona typewriter. It was the early 80s. Okay. There was no computers. There weren't even word processors. There was just a typewriter and a piece of paper and a whole lot of whiteout if you made a mistake. And I always felt like I had something to say, that I wanted to but more than that, just like I wanted to connect with people through words and communication. And so it's probably no surprise. Like I was surprised how much I ended up enjoying podcasting. That's just another version of like connecting with people through communication. I just always thought it was going to be first through the written word. It turned out that I first did that through my teaching career. I used to teach 8th grade US history. And then I did it through my blog. Way back in 2012, I started a blog called Big Girl Life. And it was really about trying to live like the biggest life that you could. And the big part, Big Girl Life, it was tongue in cheek. You could see the early implications about weight and size were in there as well. And I just thought, if I could figure out how to write a blog every day, then I would be able to consider myself a writer. And I did. I wrote every day on that blog I lost track after so many years, but that little blog is now, however many years later, 11 years later, it's not my website. Um, and I do consider myself a writer. I love the written word and I do love the spoken word too. And that eventually led to my weight loss certification, my health coach certification, my um, personal trainer certification, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually my advanced certification in weight loss, no BS weight loss coaching with Corinne Crabtree, who is my boss and my mentor now. So, all of that to say, 2 years into working for No BS, I created a boom goal, which was to write a book. And I thought that the book last year, when I made the goal, it was August of 2022. I wrote a boom goal, which is blowing our own minds. It's an acronym for blowing our own minds. There's a podcast episode on boom goals. If you search back in the past few months, you'll see it. And it was going to be a book about like keeping your word or keeping your promises to yourself. And so that was the initial goal. And then I thought, okay, well, even if I write the book, like how will people know that I have a book? Besides the people maybe who have worked with me and know me, maybe from the No BS membership, I was like, it's really important for me to kind of like put my voice out there. I think I'll start a podcast. And if I just start talking about the things that I want to talk about in this book, then I can invite my podcast audience to eventually buy my book. So that was the initial idea. So I start podcasting. I think it was the first Tuesday in October of 2022. And I just started talking about weight loss because that was the medium that I was always going to talk about, like following through on your promises to yourself. And then I thought, well, these first few episodes of the podcast, it's going to be really important for me to talk about like the basic foundational aspects of weight loss, how they affected me, how they became so important to me, and how this became like my life's work. So I did some foundational episodes that I thought would help a podcast listener learn from like my philosophy of weight loss from the very nuts and bolts. And then I would eventually work through to like, how I teach weight loss and the foundational strategies that work and my philosophy on it and food lifestyle and all of that good stuff. And then by the time New Year's rolled around, 2023, let's see, I had been podcasting for October, November, and December. So 3 months, I had 3 months worth of podcasts. And I said, okay, well, Heather, you've got 9 months now to like launch a book. How are you going to do that? And I looked at the 3 months of podcast episodes that I had already recorded. And I said, you know what? I think I kind of already wrote a book if I just look at my first 3 months worth of podcasts. So I Googled turn your podcast into a book. And I found my wonderful editor, Genevieve, and she's in the acknowledgments section of my book if you want to find her yourself. And she has this amazing service where she helps podcasters turn the content that's in the podcast into a book. So I hired her to help me do that. And what is the result of all of that is the book that is launching on Amazon today. So I was able to take something that I was passionate about and ask for help for somebody to help me take that content and turn it into a different medium, which is the written word. So I did write my book, but I spoke it instead of writing it. And I used an editor to help me sort of knit those podcasts together into a book that would take you on a journey for like how, like the foundational aspects of weight loss and how to get started. We've already talked about having a second book that will take the foundational aspects and then take it over to the next level. And that's probably coming maybe sometime next year. I'm not really sure. So, you just stay tuned for more on that. I am going to take a little bit of a break from writing books at the last quarter of this year and just enjoy the book that I've already, created and, spend some time with it, marketing it and nurturing it and just enjoying the process of having created something that I set out to create and realize like a goal I've had since I'm like 15. It's very poignant to me that I did follow through and I found a way to make it happen. And I know so many of you are in that place with your weight. And if this is still something that is within you, I really encourage you to just stay attached to it, be relentless, turn over every stone, stay curious, find ways to make it easier, find ways to think about it in a different way. And just know that there is nothing that you truly want that you can't have. If you go all in and you stay with yourself, and paradoxically, I tell you the story about how I wrote this book because when I found my editor and I realized that I had already written the book just by speaking it, it was like one of these things where when you consider how to make things truly easy for yourself and stop fighting and making it so fucking hard, like the process just appears. And I could not believe how relative. Now, listen, I worked for this book for sure. I've showed up every week. I kept my promises. I recorded podcasts when I was sick. I've done all this on all my days off. I gave up vacations. I gave up investing money, to redo my website, hiring my editor, hiring a designer to design the cover. I hired a photographer to take photos of me. Like I just fucking invested literally everything I had in what I felt as though was just fundamental for me as a human being to say that like I did what was within my heart to do with my life. And that process is incredibly gratifying. And it's just a book. And it's not even mine anymore, right? It belongs to the world. I have no idea what women might do with this book, how much weight might be lost, if it will resonate with some women and not with others. And that's all okay. The main thing is that I just did and I brought to fruition after so many decades of wanting to do something that I did it. And, that book the desire to become a writer, to write a book, yeah, that took since 1985. And that's okay. And maybe it's felt like it's been that long for you for your weight. I still haven't reached my goal weight for my own weight. Like I'm pretty close. But yeah, I'm still working on that too. It's not like I have totally arrived yet either. And that's totally okay because you can just, all you have to do to help somebody else is just to be a little bit further ahead than they are. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have done it perfectly. You don't have to, eat perfectly or look a certain way, right? It's just about actualizing and following through and working hard to, make your dreams come true for your life. And more importantly, to love your life in the process, own it completely. So that is my book story. I, of course, hope the book does well, and I need your help for that. If you can mention the book to your friends, that would be amazing. If you could share it on social media, that really helps. If you, review the podcast, that helps other people find my podcast. If you are in No BS, tell people about No BS. This is all part of the same mission, which is to help every woman lose her weight and feel as amazing as she deserves. That's from No BS. And that is so generously shared with me by, Corinne, my boss and the CEO of No BS Weight Loss. And she's supported me through the writing of this book and certified me in her advanced certification for weight loss. And everybody who I really thank that's helped me do this is in the acknowledgments. And I just encourage you to read that. All of my clients, you're on there. Thank you so much for all of your support. And, I'll see you online. Let me know how you're finding the book. If you want the workbook, that is a companion, it's a 40-page workbook. It's pretty and beautiful. It gives you space for answering all of your your coach's homework at the end of every chapter. And it's a written example of you working through this process that is probably going to be really satisfying by the time you get to the end. And it's a way for you to have something tangible to look back on so that you can always notice like the progress of where you've taken your perception of what's possible for you from the beginning of the book to the end. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today. Visit me on Instagram at Thrive in Midlife and give me the answers to your coach homework for the introduction of the book. Let me know how you're finding the book. Feel free to just say hi. If you have any questions, let me know over there and we'll keep the conversation going. Okay, so thanks so much. Stay focused and so long. Hey, if this episode was helpful, then let's connect. Visit hbeardsley.com/subscribe. That's HBEARDSLEY.com/subscribe. You'll get a gift from me, exclusive subscriber content, and advanced notice of in-person events.